Hello again, my name's Gabe Zona. One of my viewers sent me a rather interesting piece of information that he wrote. And he said he was inspired by my video, MVI 6030. This is dated April the 20th, 2015. He titled it, Fox News, Who Needs It? It's time to declare a moratorium on mainstream media, including Fox News. Question mark. He wrote, Gabe, you've occasionally mentioned Fox News as part of the problem in various ways. Example, MVI 6030. Remedia exploiting terrorists videos. I agree completely and consider the constant promotion of the news and videos of these events as actually culpable to the pain and suffering of victims and their families. Conservatives view Fox News as our only voice in many ways. It's important to realize that Fox News is paralyzed by its own dependence upon corporate sponsorship. In other words, Fox conservatives' leanings can only go so far in truth-telling. I'm sure that many Fox anchors and contributors realize that Obama is in fact an enemy to the United States, a dangerous Marxist threat to the American public, that John Boehner and Mitch McConnell are complete sellouts to Obama's administration, and America is literally on the verge of collapse, politically, economically, and socially. Yet this quote-unquote truth is far too extreme for Fox News. Truth reserved for alternative news found only on the internet and deemed conspiratorial by mainstream media, of which Fox News is part of, even though it contorts itself to appear non-mainstream. The bottom line is revenue. As long as Fox News is dependent on corporate sponsorship, it will never tell the real truth, never reveal the extent of our country's demise, nor the actual peril of collapse that America creeps closer to every day. As long as Rupert Murdoch and Roger Ailes remain part of the very rich elite from which Fox News pretends to distance itself, we'll never be able to count on Fox News to be the quote-unquote conservative voice. As I've watched Fox over the years, finding myself watching it less and less, it has become apparent that Fox News' obsession with being, quote, fair and balanced, end of quote, actually produces more puking liberalism. Bill O'Reilly is an example of this two-faced conservatism. He goes out of his way to compliment liberals or aspects of their personalities and attempt to prove to the world how fair he is. But that's not what conservatives need. Our liberal enemies are playing hardball 24/7. There are no niceties coming from the left towards us. Occasionally, Neil Cavuto will toss a liberal grenade comment against the Tea Party or against one of the conservative presidential candidates to show how quote-unquote fair and balanced he wants to be. It's really sickening and counterproductive. The alphabet news agencies, particularly MSNBC, make no bones about their Marxist and liberal agendas. One would argue that O'Reilly's incredible rating justify anything he says. I don't dispute his ratings, but it's indicative to know how fence-straddling even the so-called conservative base has become if they actually think that Bill O'Reilly is a red-blooded conservative. He is anything but conservative. He's a showbiz for rating, period. I haven't forgotten O'Reilly's legal trouble in 2004 with his former producer, Andre Makris, and that he escaped career disaster after calling her on the phone and conducting unspeakable conversations. Apparently, his followers don't mind. What good is a truth trailblazer? Example, Fox News. If it leads you almost to the right road and then turns sharply away to avoid danger. Fox News conservatism is milquetoast. And I'm afraid that true conservatism and true patriotism for America is particularly non-existent today. If we're not willing to speak clearly against our enemies, if our patriotism is no deeper than flag waving, singing patriotic country twang songs, and slapping catchy conservatives bumper stickers on our cars, then all hope is lost for this country long before 2016. American problems must be settled by Americans willing to go to prison and even die for her. We cannot leave it up to our military. In fact, the dark forces are doing everything to turn our own military against us. In parentheses, Jade Helm. We must see ourselves in the same light as George Washington's tattered army. The only comfort and inspiration they had was vision to actually obtain freedom for their families against a tyrannical King George III. We have too much comfort, too much convenience, too many distractions, too many choices, too much entertainment, too many celebrities and political gods, while forsaking the one true God who built this nation and whom we've allowed the liberal God bashers to have their way, mocking, ridiculing, removing from history books in order that our children be thoroughly propagandized to believe that the state is their God, essentially unchallenged. I've come to believe that the TV media is our main enemy, including Fox News. It bombards us with more irrelevant than relevant information, and that's because the commercials fill your brain with consumerism poisoning the jingles you can't shake out of your head. Have you ever considered fasting from TV for a month? Something wonderful will occur if you declare a moratorium on mainstream media. You'll think more clearly. You may even begin hearing from God again. Why? Because whether you realize it or not, you're making Fox News and other entertainment your God by depending upon them for truth. Frankly, if you fasted from TV for a month, as well as all forms of Fox and mainstream news, you'd feel as healthy as a 30-year smoker giving up the habit and likely never go back. Don't think that media won't notice, and don't think that it would not be an effective tool against the powers trying to eradicate American freedom. The reason Americans are so continuously propagandized is because they don't resist it. Your God is whomever you give the most attention. Well, I wrote back to this individual and suggested that he write a book because what he wrote was extremely well written and he covered all the bases. You know, I've said countless times, Fox News, what they do is they say the same thing over and over and over again with different talking heads throughout the day. And we do end up getting brainwashed. Why do I watch them as often as I do? Well, I don't really spend a whole lot of time watching them. I'll grab a glimpse here and I'll grab a glimpse there in order to be able to talk about the events. I find them to be the most honest, not necessarily completely honest, but more so honest than any other media outlet. If you like what the viewer wrote, pass it along. If you don't like what he wrote, you might consider going to another channel. That's sort of what I think. I told you what my viewer thinks. The question now is, what do you think?